Okay, Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulullah amma ba'd. So, Assalamu alaikum. Oh, I'm gonna just take my camera off as we're going through the presentation. So, Zach here for joining. You did everything right. So, why does it feel so wrong? Right. So, this is the title of our workshop today, and what we're going to ask is this question: what if everything you've been taught about success was upside down? So a bit of intrigue there, a bit of mystery. I want to tell you about 3 phone calls I had last year. The first one was a surgeon. So he was 52, he was based in the US, and mashallah, amazing brother, really, really successful, like super successful. And he was married, he had 3 kids, all grown up. He was looking at moving to the Middle East, where he's originally from. And when I was speaking to him, there was he was moving because, well, there's nothing left to achieve anymore. He just needed a new challenge. The words that he used was, "Look, I'm just burnt out here. I just want a slower pace of life," and he just felt burnt out, despite achieving everything beyond what people achieve. The second phone call I had was with an IT professional who was kind of late 40s. So he was based in the Midlands, slightly different career trajectory. So he was in the corporate world for a while, then became a contractor, had a couple of contracts, was working from home. And so he had this element of freedom, but he didn't have enough. And he just felt that he felt a bit antsy is the word I would use. That it's fine. I can work on my own terms to an extent, but I still have to go into the office a couple of times a week. And like, I've got parents that are getting older. I just want to be free. He kept using this word. I just want to be free. But he was just the word that he used was unfulfilling. He kept saying, "Oh, this is it's unfulfilling. I'm good at it. Yeah, I've been doing it for years. I could do it with my eyes closed, but it's just unfulfilling." Then I spoke to an actual rocket scientist, right? So much of this guy was in his 30s, early 30s, based in Europe. And again, mashallah, super successful, very, very intelligent, very practicing. I mean, all of these brothers actually, mashallah, very practicing, very, spiritually inclined. They're all kind of married, they all got kids. With him, he would just said, "Look, something doesn't feel quite right." He felt guilty. That was kind of his main thing. That I feel guilty that all of my things I'm doing maybe for the wrong company, or that he just feels that I've got all these talents, all these gifts. What can I actually do it for? So the question I've got for you guys is that the surgeon said he's burnt out. The IT professional said things are unfulfilling. The rocket scientist said something's not quite right. These are the top professions. If we could be in these, probably way more successful than me. But they're all coming with this thing in common, that they don't feel happy. So my question is, why? So I'd love for you to kind of answer maybe in the chat. What do why do you think they were saying this? What are some of the reasons why they're feeling so unhappy, unfulfilled? Yeah, definitely. Lack of meaning, purpose. They weren't aligned in their own direction. Yeah, 100%. I mean, even though, like I said, they've achieved huge things, they've got all the money they wanted, they've got houses, they've got cars, they've got all sorts, the things that we aspire for. They went on many holidays every year, regular umrahs, all that stuff. But yeah, not aligned with their skills and passion. I mean, yeah, they were aligned with their skills because, again, they got very, very good in their jobs. Maybe not their passion. You're right. Uncertainty. Yeah, no vision. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think this is the thing. They the profession will be forced. It's not with the physiology. Yeah, very good. Nice. Detachment from the heart. Yeah, possibly, possibly. Chasing the mean, misguided vision. So all of the answers are really, really good. Mashallah. And it's almost it's interesting because I had lots of calls last year, and this is there's not just these three. This is a theme I was noticing over and over and over again. So okay, I'm going to come on back to those three guys later. I've been on a bit of a mission over the past few years. Recently, I conducted the largest study of Muslim purpose ever conducted. Um, there were 3,491 Muslims surveyed from 101 countries. And the main question I wanted to understand is that why are so many Muslims stuck? This is some of the key stats that came from that study. 66% of them said they've got clarity in terms of what Allah expects from them. 58% of them said, yeah, we actually know our purpose, which was quite surprising actually, because I thought that was the biggest problem that we had. We didn't have clarity. But this is where it started declining because only 34% of them said that they were actually taking action towards that purpose. And even more scarily, they said that only 17% felt that, oh yeah, we're doing justice to ourselves or we're living at our potential. And so that's a 49-point collapse between knowing something and actually living by it. So the gap's not actually knowledge. If you think about the masjids, the Quran schools, madrasa, education is not really a problem. Alhamdulillah, we have so many scholars, so many teachers. Like, like we know a lot. I know now we've got AI, we've got ChatGPT, we've got Google, we've got all these things. The knowledge is at our fingertips. So there's just something else that's preventing us. Now, with myself, I obviously know this study struggle personally. Um, I've spent obviously years in that gap as well. I really resonated with those three guys that I mentioned earlier. I was also successful on paper. I was deeply unfulfilled underneath. I knew that I had more potential. I was kind of, and I felt that the corporate world is not getting the best of me, but I had no idea what that was. So I was definitely part of that 83% that weren't fulfilling their potential. Now, I'm like, I can see a lot of familiar name in the chat, but just in case you don't know me or my background, quick overview, right? So I'm 41. I'm based in Nottingham in the UK, and my life has kind of been in three phases. So my 20s, I call it the corporate slave, right? So I was once upon a time a lawyer, and then I went into the corporate world, a big blue chip company, initially in procurement. Procurement, I did a bit of project management, a bit of data analysis, but ultimately I was kind of living that kind of life where it looked really good on the outside, had a company car, good job, respect, I had a team underneath me, all that stuff. I was selected for leadership programs, all that kind of stuff. But I was empty and unhappy underneath. And what ended up happening is I just ended up quit. I quit before I turned 30. And it was the thing that made me quit was actually this identity crisis that, hang on, I'm 30 years old almost, and I've got no idea who I am. I'm known for being a lawyer, but hang on, my parents made that decision. Or I'm known for being a buyer or in procurement. And the guy who interviewed me said, oh, yeah, you'll be really great in our buying team. He put me there. So I've had no agency over who I've become. So who am I? I had no idea. So yeah, so that was one of the sparks that I thought, okay, you know what? I don't know who I am, but all I know for sure is I don't want this. So I just quit. Um, so then that led me on to my kind of the journey in my 30s was all in entrepreneurship. So I started off with Amazon and e-commerce, which was quite a good fit because my background was in obviously retail buying, and so I already knew how to develop products, etc. And that was good. That led me to China a few times. I thought, okay, instead of creating just random product, I want to create my own product from scratch. So liaise with some Chinese suppliers, end up creating a smart home tech product, which then launched on Kickstarter, and then we went into retail and hospitality and things like that. Later in my 30s, I went into more services based, so marketing agency, had a brand consultancy, and then primary for the last maybe 5 to 6 years has been education and training companies. So I've got a company called Muslim CEO, which helps Muslims get started in business, and my other company is No, which is what I do, or which is what our purpose discovery, which leads me on to the other side of me, the purpose seeker. So in my 30s, as alongside the entrepreneurship, I was sort of desperately seeking what my own purpose was. And this is what I found. I've been researching this subject probably for 10 years now. I write a lot on the subject. I've probably written 250 or more articles on this now, and I've been putting together a program on this as well. And alhamdulillah, I've just completed my first book on this subject as well. So it's called Khalifa: Remembering Human Purpose in the Age of AI. So inshallah, that will be out in the next month or two. But that gap haunted me. So this is what I've been doing over the past 5 years. I realized that what is our true purpose? How do we actually live by it? And so part of my purpose-seeking journey has meant I've read hundreds of books, I've attended tons of workshops, tons of courses, and I realized that Islam is amazing in terms of meaning and theology, right? We know that's why we have clarity about what our purpose is, but there's no focus on practical. How do you actually live by it? There's no infrastructure. The West was great for infrastructure, framework, system. We have Ikigai, we have Simon Sinek, we have all of these guys, but they're not so hot on the meaning side, right? And so I thought, okay, there's a major gap here. We need to resolve this because we need something that's authentic to our tradition, who we are, right? So that's why I just thought, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I went looking for answers. I went through classic Islamic prayer, also the Quran first and foremost, obviously Sunnah, Seerah, Islamic history. I went deep into psychology, obviously purpose science, and also looked at different transformation stories. And there was these five, obviously multiple icons that stood out, but it's particularly Ghazali, Iqbal, Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, and Rumi. They all spoke about purpose in a different kind of way. And I also spoke to hundreds of, maybe thousands probably of Muslims one-to-one, and surveyed, and I started building. I just started building, and over the last 5 years, what I've done is I've created a system, right? So I've got, and through that system, I've got multiple frameworks. So there's probably 40 odd frameworks, and all to codify the end-to-end process of what purpose looks like, because it's such an important thing. This is an interesting thing. Check this out. That of the top 20 best-selling books of all time, nonfiction, I realized that 6 or 7, I think six of them are on the subject of purpose, right? And they've sold like tens of millions of things. A Man's Search of Meaning, I think one's called The Purpose-Driven Life. And so it's a universal problem. And yet, what is the Muslim response? And so this is why it was like, this is really, really important. So one of the frameworks was the Spark system, which is all about understanding your strengths and what you're encoded for. One is about understanding your mission. One's about understanding your systems and what the enemies are in place. But alhamdulillah, they've been, my program has been helping people from all around the world for the past few years. But what it was is that if I say to someone, I've got 40 frameworks, it's very overwhelming, right? And so what I've been kind of looking for is, okay, what is the overall framework that makes everything make sense? And alhamdulillah, that's what I'm going to present today. So that was quite a long introduction into what I'm going to present to you guys today. And it's the first time. So, technically it's the second time, but it's the first time online, inshallah. So that's still true. So I call this the master architecture. And again, I'm using architecture deliberately because this is about how we've been designed. So by the end of today, inshallah, you'll walk away knowing a name for what you've been feeling, the architecture you were designed with, where it collapsed, and a commitment, inshallah, to start rebuilding. So let's begin. So if you have any questions at all, I'm happy. There'll be breaks here and there where we do exercises, so you can ask them there. And obviously, there'll be at the end we can do a big Q&A, inshallah. So let's begin. So, but first, I think let's go back to our 3 phone calls. So these, the doctor, the IT professional, and the rocket scientist, they were practicing, they were successful, they had it all. So why? Why they obviously what you guys said was very, very true. Vision, lack of meaning, all these things. The deep reason, and it's actually they're not alone. Millions of people feel it too. The word, but okay, before I go there, basically there's something wrong, and we're all feeling it. We're all feeling it. We're living in they tell us that we live in the best of all times, right? We've got all the technology in the world. AI can do things in a quarter of the time, not a quarter of the time, in like the thing that used to take days, it does it in seconds, right? And we've got access to everything on our phone, and but we're more anxious than ever, and the depression rates have gone up 50% in the last 10 years. Even if you're successful, people are still unfulfilled, and we've got no, we call it scorn or peace, right? Even though we've got more comfort, more technology, like our ancestors would kill for what we've got. But why do we feel worse? And the word that really comes to mind. Why does the word feel so empty? Empty. So, like I said, these are people in different locations. One's the US, one's the UK, one's Europe. They're different ages, 30s, 40s, 50s, different professions. They've felt like this, and most people have that I've spoken to. So that word kept playing with my head. I remember sometimes my office, I'm in now, is actually at my parents' house. So I've got a special, separate room. Sometimes I go, I have tea with them and stuff. And I just say, I had a really interesting call and something like that. And I'm explaining to them, and sometimes they say, I was supposed to, well, you're supposed to rocket scientist. Why are they speaking to you for and stuff? And they speak Punjabi. And the word that kept, I was trying to explain this to them. Oh yeah, but they didn't understand it because they're like, well, hang on, they've got this, they've got that. And the word that I used was this, khali. So khali in Punjabi, in Urdu, in Hindi, in Farsi, in Tamil, in Bengali, in Pashto, in Gujarati, it means empty. Even in Arabic. In Arabic, it means uncle, but also some versions of it mean empty as well. So empty, void, vacant. I thought, oh my God, that's spot on. Khali, that's the, and I thought we need language. We need language to define how we're feeling. It reminds me of like the word gaslighting. It's everywhere now, right? But that word was taken from a film in the 1940s because a husband was trying to make his wife go mad, and he kept saying, "Oh, can't you smell gas? Can't you smell gas?" And that eventually stuck as a concept that people do today. Same with burnout. That was again. So sometimes we feel something, but we don't have language to it, so we just. But I thought, okay, Khali defined it to a T because all these languages understand it. That means 2 billion people in the world understand this word. But what are we supposed to become? So, but why everyone's feeling Khali, but we're actually here to become Khalifa. I thought, oh my God, those words are so similar, right? So Khalifa is Allah's representative on earth, the one who fulfills the divine assignment. So I thought, my God, these words are only 2 letters apart, but how different do they feel? So Khali is empty, they're collapsing, they feel a void. But Khalifa is the one who's fulfilled, he's radiating, he's like a vessel for change and for good. And I was never supposed to feel like this, you know? So, obviously, we're all curious, we're all thinkers, we're all learners. The question I was coming at, like, is it because we're going against our nature, our fitra? Fitra, which is our original design, the way Allah created you. And yet, what's really happening is it's fitna. Our original design has been distorted. This is how the world has kind of corrupted us. And I realized that, look, this is what's happened. Everything's actually backwards. Everything is backwards. Because we have natural order. Purpose, defines our success. Identity comes from our creator. Work is supposed to serve our life. Our rest is given, and fulfillment comes from within. Right? That's how it's supposed to be in nature. But everything is inverted. right? So now status defines success. Our identity comes from our achievements. Our life is supposed to serve our work. Rest must be earned. We live in this hyper-capitalist kind of world and stuff, and your fulfillment comes from consumption. That's why you got to buy more. You got to consume more Netflix, more Instagram, more food, more whatever. So it's weird. There's an inversion. The natural order is one way, and the world we live in has inverted everything. So the truth is, honestly, we're not broken, but the system is. We're living in a truly broken system, and the world pushes outside in, well, you were designed inside out. Now that sentence might not make sense right now, but it will, inshallah, by the end of this session. So I want to show you a little bit how this inversion happens, and it happens very young. Most of us don't choose it ourselves. It's often chosen for us. So step one, what we do is we choose the end result. So our parents, they say, okay, I want my child to be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. Right? Why do they choose that? It's because of the result they want is either status or money or respect or conformity or whatever. Right? They want this, and this is the way to get there. Then what they do, they design the path to that result. So you've got to go to the right school, you've got to get extra tuition, you've got to go to the right university, you have to have the right degree. Everything is designed accordingly to optimize for that result. Then what happens is your identity becomes a title. Finally, you are a doctor, you are a lawyer, you are an engineer. Well, I am. That's how you introduce yourself at parties. And Allah's never really consulted. Oh yeah, something Allah's used as a motivation. Oh, you want you to be successful, but it's an afterthought. What did Allah actually create you to do? You never really, you don't ask that question. So this is the backwards path, right? It's you start with the result, then you design the path. That creates your identity, and then we think about creator. It's the exact opposite of how we were designed. So these are some of the questions that were never asked. What did Allah create you specifically to do? What are your strengths, your wiring, your design? What makes you come alive? And who are you beyond the title? We're going to go into all of this. So I don't want to just it feels like I'm throwing information at you, but inshallah, all of this stuff we'll go into. Now, obviously, this is not to chastise parents or anything like that. This is the system. This is the system, and so this is the blueprint that the system has put down on us from either colonization or last 100 years or whatever. But it was never always like this. But this is the way it's become. So we're not sort of broken, but we're handed broken blueprints, and so you're a product of your environment, essentially. So let's do a quick exercise now. I want you to draw. If you've got that piece of paper, if you've got that piece of paper and a pen, I want you to draw a line in the middle, and this is what I want you to do for on the left-hand side. I want you to design the path chosen for you. And again, it might not be by parents, it might be by society, it might be by the school system, it might be whatever, media. So what was the degree that you were told to pursue? What was the career that was expected? Sometimes definitions, like I said, language is powerful. And what's the definition of success that you inherited? What would make your parents proud? Now, this is a big one because often we do things because we crave our parents' praise and their love and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes it's a cultural thing. Oh no, we're this tribe or we're this thing. So this is what do people like us do? Or so I'll do a quick timer. Maybe just write for 60 seconds or so. What are the things that you were what was the path that was chosen for you? And in the meantime, I'll go through some of the I'll get some water and I'll go through some of the comments. Oh, you can't hear. Oh my, I've just seen that now. Can you press 1 if you can hear me? Oh, no, press 1 if you can't hear me, sorry. Okay, sorry. That's right. Okay, press 2 if you can't hear me. Yeah, once you can gaze and all hear me. Okay. Oh, okay. UAE. Okay, fair enough. Right. In that case, maybe in the future we'll look at doing Zoom or something. Okay, perfect. So let's do the opposite now. What's the path that you would have chosen? And this one's might be a little bit harder. Maybe you haven't thought about that, but just have a think about it. Maybe I can give you a little bit longer. What would you do if money didn't matter? If no one was watching? What actually really energizes you? Like it might not be impressive, but what really energizes you? So, what did you dream before the world got to you? And what would you do if you could start all over again? I'll give you a really good example of this actually. Someone that I know, he's like this hardcore data analyst in a big analytics company in London. But honestly, the thing that makes him come alive, gardening. He's not in. Sometimes you associate gardening with like old folk, and so he's in his like mid-20s. But he absolutely loves it. I literally, he's actually on YouTube looking at different soils, and I've never met anyone like that. It's really interesting. But this is it, If you know, that's his thing. Okay, interesting. About sure. Uh, your path was MBA. Okay, yeah, interesting. Hmm. Interesting. So you have a teaching element inside you. Interestingly. Okay. Very good. Okay. So if you look at the gap, look at the difference between the left side and the right side, that's essentially the inversion. So if I look at my left side in my 20s, it was okay, lawyer or corporate buyer, and then the right side was this person who loves writing, who loves designing systems and frameworks, and that is so different. It's so different. So it's no wonder I was unhappy and empty because there's hardly any correlation. I'm a natural creative. God, if I had become if I'd stayed in law, there's not much creativity in that. It's just more about I'm kind of killing the things that are within me. Yeah, nice. Okay, making things easy for the learners to get to the aha moment. Nice, very good. Okay, so um, all right. So, is there a small gap? Is there a big gap? Or let me know. Yeah, that's it. Khalid. Wow. Okay, interesting. Wow. So that's very interesting as well. Okay, so let's do something different. So here's the good news, right? This gap is not permanent, but to close it, you need to understand the architecture underneath. So now let me take you through how the architecture works. So this little dot, it represents light, because everything in the universe essentially comes down to this one thing: where does energy come from? Where does light come from? And this represents a star. Um, in Surah Tariq is by the sky and the night comer. What what will make you know what the night comer is? It is the piercing star. The piercing star. So remember that, right? Piercing star. I want you to. This part is crucial. This is the meat of the workshop. So think about the star. The star is something that gives. It gives natural light. It gives warmth. It gives life. Right? Imagine how long would we live if the sun didn't exist, right? Or if it shut off for 24 hours or whatever. So what the star does, it radiates. It pierces through darkness. Why? Because its center is alive. We'll go into that in a second. But now I want you to look at the opposite, the black hole. The black hole takes, right? It takes anything in its path. It takes light, it takes matter, and it only takes six. It consumes. And what it does, it doesn't give it any light, it just creates darkness because the center has completely collapsed. And also, what's interesting is that a black hole is just a collapsed star. It's made of the same elements. It's the same matter, but it does complete opposite things. So one radiates and one collapses and consumes. And the difference is what's at the center. So obviously, I know you didn't come here for an astronomy lesson or astrophysics or anything, but this is literally the perfect metaphor for our life today. I want to explain a little bit how the mechanics of a star and how it works. Because, like I said, what's in the center is what matters. What's the architecture inside that produces all that light? So this is the architecture of a star. You have in the center this core fusion, like it's this burning ball of fire that is full of energy. It's full of energy. What happens with that? It like obviously it's got to go outwards. It's radiating so much heat. It's got so much heat. The energy sort of flows out, and this is where it starts radiating. It gets further out where there's an outer glow, and eventually, as it gets to where it needs to get to, it gives light and warmth when it's not as hot as it is obviously in the center. But it all comes from that burning core fusion. But when the source collapses, basically a star collapses and becomes a black hole when it runs out of fuel. Basically, that center in the middle, it goes cold. When it goes cold, it's basically on the verge. Then it becomes a black hole. And what's interesting is that it can burn for years, for decades, for not decades, for hundreds of thousands, millions of years, but it can go cold overnight. That's really interesting. And once it does that, then there's no stop it. Then it basically the transformation happens the other way. It starts to take. We have something called what happens is that it starts from the it starts taking things. The gravitational pull starts bringing things even closer. Once it gets to this thing called event horizon, it basically there's no going back. You can't ever get out of its web kind of thing. So literally, this is what a collapsed star does. It's it just starts consuming. And so this is why I call this the master framework, because it's built on the architecture of the star. So this is what it looks like. I call it the core and four. Why? Because the center is the core, and then there's four rings. So let me explain this. The normal way, or as in I say normal, as in the way the world is right now, is the Hali approach. We start off on the outside with the result, and then we look at, okay, what do we need to do for the result? Then we know, okay, how do we get there? What do we need to, and then who do we become? Like and then why is an afterthought, if anything. But the way it's supposed to be, the Khalifa approach, it always starts with the source. That then defines the self. Then you build systems that keep the source burning. Then the service happens through overflow because the source is burning so strong. You've got so much light inside you that it's got to go somewhere. And this is the main difference. You see that last ring is actually a dotted line. It's not just a ring; it's a dotted line because after that you surrender. We're supposed to. Islam means submission, right? We have to surrender the result to Allah. This is the main difference, because the Khali, or the black hole, they try and control the result. That's it also kind of goes backwards, and that's what the outside in way is. Whereas, again, if you go from the other way around, the end part we're supposed to leave. So this is how you flourish. So when the core is alive, the source generates all the energy, the self is stable and clear, the systems protect and channel, they allow the burn to stay strong. Then the service just flows because you've got so much to give. And then the surrender just releases with peace. So this is how you radiate, because we're all stars. But when the core collapses, the source is completely hollow, right? The self is borrowed from outside, the systems serve everyone else, the service drains you empty, and the surrender, it's impossible to surrender. You grip tighter. Oh my God, I'm going to lose this. You end up collapsing. Does this make sense? Let me just get some. The previous slide. Okay. Okay. Good. So obviously this is the same 5 rings, the same architecture, but a star or black hole, it depends on the direction. So let's revisit the parent example again. Step 1. Someone else decided your destination before you knew who you were, before you knew what you wanted, before you had any say at all. Child's going to be a doctor, engineer, lawyer. So there's no surrender, only control. Your service was then chosen for status. It wasn't your calling or anything. It was just chosen because they wanted the end result. Then your systems were built to hit someone else's target. Yourself just became the title. I'm a doctor, I'm an accountant, but you don't know who you are beyond that. So who are you when the title is gone? So your source is not even there, right? Okay, Allah, yes, want you to be successful, but are you really doing what He created you to do? So everything has been built backwards. And the thing is about this model is that it doesn't just apply to your job role or your purpose. It actually applies to life, because the entire systems are built backwards. Well, this is what happens is that you end up being 40-odd, you're successful by every measure, and but you're empty. You look like a star from the outside, but you're actually a black hole. And so what they succeeded, but building in the wrong way. This is the point. So if you've been to previous workshops, I always use this one because it really does speak to our state. Do not be like those who forgot Allah, so He made them forget themselves. So obviously this is not your fault, but this is your rebuilding to do. We can rebuild. The black hole can become a star again. And this is an important point, and I mentioned this in the book. AI is actually going to come for the black holes, because people who are just there and they're good at their job, but that's all they are. The machines are going to be able to replicate that much better. But the Khalifa, the star, the one who can radiate and who can connect to the source, that no machine can ever do that. They cannot replicate who you are and the vertical connection that we have. So I want to do some scoring and some tests with you, inshallah. So are you living inside out, or outside in? So I want you to, on your piece of paper, score yourself out of 10 for each of these things. So let's begin. So the source, this is the core. This is the nuclear fusion, what generates all the energy. So for a star, it's obviously hydrogen fusing to helium, but for you, it's connection to Allah, right? Because remember, He's infinite. He's infinite. That will never run out. That will never ever run out. It'll only give you more and more. That's what barakah is. We've got so much, so much to give that it'll just radiate beyond what you thought possible. So obviously, in the heart, remember to Allah, do hearts find rest. So here's the test. So score yourself from 1 to 10. So the question is your fuel infinite or are you running on fumes? So for that, how you score this, when you worship, does it fill you or is it just another task? So a 10 is that whenever I pray, I'm so connected, I'm full of khushu, I'm just like overflowing with the connection to Allah. And one is if I've no connection at all, it's completely dead. My prayers, I haven't prayed for a long time, blah blah blah, all that stuff. So what? And you have to share this, by the way. You keep this. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Now the self. So what kind of star are you? This is your unique composition, your specific design, your fitra. So obviously not all stars shine in the same way. So like a red dwarf is small, steady, it burns the longest. A yellow dwarf is balanced, sustaining, life grows around it. A blue giant is brilliant, intense, it burns fast, it changes everything. A binary star is two stars orbiting together, so it's power through partnership. So your purpose isn't to be someone else's kind of star, it's for your kind of star to radiate in the way you were designed. Right? So obviously this is all about fitra. So here's your test. If your job title disappeared tomorrow, would you know who you are? Who are you when the title is gone and no one is watching? So a 10 is I know myself deeply. And if I was to introduce myself at an event, I don't even say my job because I know exactly who I am outside of that. And one is I've got no idea. If I lost my job tomorrow, I would have an existential crisis. Will the recording be available afterwards? Yes, it would be for a few days, and then I'll put it in our workshops folder. Okay, next, systems. So this is what maintains the burn. The rhythms, the routines. This is the architecture of your days. So obviously, Surah Asr is all about time and how do you manage our time. So your systems either reinforce your inner rings or they replace them. So the Khalifa systems, they serve source. The Hali systems serve everyone else. Part of why we feel burnt out is because we're living for other people instead of what keeps us going. So here's your test. Do your systems protect your inner rings or do they crush them? So a way of looking at this is that do you have boundaries of your time? And are you doing, or does everyone else dictate your time? That's why, when you think about this stuff, it's amazing. Like the way Allah has designed everything is so perfect. So we have 5 prayers, and these are systems that are designed to maintain our burn. We have Monday and Thursday fasting. We have Jummah. We have obviously regular charity that we give. We have monthly thing that we do. We have Umrah that we do. We have Hajj that we do. We have all these different Ramadan. We have all these different things that are designed. They're all systematized by design in order to keep us kind of going. Okay, ring 3, service. So this is about your radiation. What do you give to the world? So this is important because it comes third. A lot of people make their work everything, right? So you can only radiate when your core is strong and it's burning bright. This is I like this ayah because do not keep your hand chained to your neck nor stretch it out completely lest you sit blamed and regretful. Again, it just speaks to the fact that those people are going to be regretful who are told what to do or whatever. So here's a test for you. After you serve, so for example at work, are you energized at the end of your day or are you completely utterly drained? So a 10 is that I come home, I've got abundance of energy and I love what I do and it's exciting and it fills you up. Or are you completely gone, right? I just need to binge, I just need to just wind down. Or so do you give from overflow or from empty? Yeah. Next. Oh, okay. Next is surrender. This is the dotted ring. So releasing your outcomes to Allah. So your job is to maintain the core, but his job is to determine the radiation's reach. How far will your impact go? Whoever puts their trust in Allah, he will be enough for them. Sometimes the simplest ones are the most profound. So here's a test. Do you have peace despite uncertainty? Do you say Alhamdulillah in all situations? Or do you have anxiety even when things are going well? Another way of looking at it is, do you sleep well, or do you sometimes lie awake trying to control things that you can't? So a 10 is, look, I've got a control issue. I need to have a plan and make sure that I know what I'm doing. Or are you like, alhamdulillah, look, I've done what I can, leave the rest for Allah. Oops. Okay. So I think the one thing I want to mention here is that some people, they feel that, yeah, but you're not supposed to be passive, we're supposed to be proactive, and I completely agree. The difference is this: that you still do the work, you still make the effort, you still show up, but you release your grip on the outcome. Remember, a star doesn't control its shine. It doesn't say, "Oh, no, I've got to make sure I get enough beyond Earth," and has to go to. No, it just shines. And I mean, Allah, if he wanted to, he could decide that, oh no, the sun can go as far as Mars, and actually, it can even go to Uranus. But no, it doesn't. That's Allah's decision. So that's what tawakkul is. We have to trust rather than just have the delusion of control. Right? And again, this is a very Western, secular kind of mindset that we've got to, control. We've got to control everything, and because they want to de-risk, they don't want to make a loss. Don't get me started on that stuff. But yeah, okay. So you don't have to give your scores or anything, but are you more a star? Are you more a black hole? Or are you kind of flickering? Yeah, something like that. Okay, that's good. Yeah, good. Okay, so this is your architecture audit. So you can just add your 5 scores and look at where your lowest score is, because that's your weakest ring. And this is what it reveals. If you score between 40 to 50, that means that, mashallah, you've got a very, very strong architecture. You're already inside out. So protect that. Do not let the fitna and the systems corrupt you, if you're 30 to 39, it's moderate. Some are solid. Some need a bit of attention. 20 to 29 is fragile. So you're starting to invert. That center maybe starting to go cold. 10 to 19 is collapsing. So an urgent rebuild is needed, and you need to go back to source. And under 10, you're in crisis mode. But at least now you're aware, so we can start rebuilding. So your lowest score tells you where you can focus first. Yeah. Okay. You can type in chat where maybe your lowest ring is. If you don't have to mention your score if you don't want to, but what was your lowest one? It'll be just good to get a read of most people struggling with source. Is it systems? Is it surrender? So systems. Okay. Interesting. Very good. Very good. Interesting. Okay. So you've said it, you've named it. So now let's talk about the rebuilding. Remember, it's the same 5 rings, but the direction is what's different. So the inside out, the Khalifa starts with source, because he's the piercing star. So energy radiates from the center outward, and the Khali, everything collapses towards a hollow center. That's the black hole. So how do we reconstruct? What does it actually look like to rebuild from the inside out? So I'm going to show you someone who did it 900 years ago. Imam Ghazali. So if you want, in the last workshop, I mentioned him there as well. So he was the most celebrated scholar in the Islamic world. Right? He was advisor to Sultan, the head of the Nizamiya. So at 33, he had everything. And at 34, he completely collapsed. He couldn't teach, he couldn't speak, and he couldn't function. This was actually his own diagnosis. The impulse moving me was the desire for reputation, not a sincere desire to serve Allah. So even him, the most celebrated scholar, his source had gone hollow. He was a black hole that had looked like a star. So what happened? He walked away from everything, and he spent 11 years rebuilding from the inside out. So from the source perspective, he withdrew to the Mosque of Damascus. He spent hours in the minaret. He stopped teaching. He started weeping, and he rebuilt Salah from obligation to conversation. To know himself, he went on Hajj. He visited the grave of Ibrahim alayhi salam. He sat at the Prophet's grave, and he said, "Who am I if no one knows my name?" His assistant, he lived on almost nothing. He structured his days around dhikr, reflection, and silence. When he finally started to return to teaching, he taught in small circles, not packed halls. And then for surrender, he refused the Sultan calling him for years. And he only returned when he truly felt Allah and not ambition was calling him back. What happened? He eventually wrote Ihya Ulumuddin, a book that has guided millions for 900 years. And look at this one of the surrender, look how much it's radiating still, long after the man is gone. And that's what a rebuilt star does. Allah can decide how long your name is mentioned in history and your legacy and all these different things. But the order has to be correct. So let's go back. What does it look like today? Right. Let's go back to one of our examples. Maybe let's look at the doctor, and let's call him Yusuf. So Yusuf's path is medicine. Obviously, medicine, consultant in private practice. He's on 6 figures by 35, married, 3 kids, parents were proud, community was impressed. But this is what he felt. He's achieving, even though he's achieving things, he felt nothing. He was helping patients, but he was actually resenting them. He was praying, but going through the motions. He was just busy and mind was occupied. He's coming home, kind of hiding in his office, escaping from the world. I don't know if any of this stuff sounds familiar. I recognize it because again, I went through, I resented not my patients, but my boss or my colleagues or whatever. And then what happened? This was his acid test. His father died, and he stood at the grave and he couldn't cry. He felt nothing, which is it's quite a scary thing. And that's when he knew that the core was empty. This is the diagnosis. His source was gone. His self, he didn't really know beyond being a doctor. Systems were good. He was like, he used to play squash, and he had a social circle, and he gave himself time and gym and all that stuff, and so he was doing good work and stuff in that sense. But again, he wasn't surrendering, and so he was again perfectly optimized black hole. So he had to rebuild his source and tahajjud, right? And he was desperate. And when you're desperate, you start having real conversations, a real relationship. And this line at the bottom is the one. Because what we're trying to do, we're trying to not be passive. We're trying to activate. And remember that core in the center is like nuclear fusion, right? Fusion reignites in desperation. It needs a big kind of move from you. So fusion reignites in desperation, in honesty, in the dark. It's not just, okay, let me think my way to connection. It doesn't work like that. It's often that's why your biggest breakthrough often comes after your biggest breakdown. Step 1. He then said, I need to understand myself better. He realized, my fitra isn't in healing bodies, It's actually the teaching side. He loved the teaching side of it, and and so now he had a lot of wisdom, and so he realized, like, I'm a servant of Allah, I'm a Khalifa who happens to practice medicine, right? So my job title is doctor or consultant, but I actually love teaching. So even though he can still continue to do the same job, but he understands himself better. And so his systems. Okay, let me get in my morning routine. Let me put the source first. Let me put half an hour, 45 minutes focusing on rebuilding that source, the Quran, Fajr, Zikr, etc. He ordered his calendar. Right, I've got to protect my me time, my kids and family time, Allah time. Boundaries built. He learned to say no. His system started serving his core, not crushing it. Service transformed, right? Mentoring, teaching, writing, speaking, guiding. So he's now doing all of these things because he was full, not from he wasn't like just resenting and empty and burnt out. Now he understood himself. He was rebuilding it. He was able to give, and patients even felt the difference. He was much brighter, happier, and his family felt the difference too. So he was finally home, even when he was at work. And the surrender was then released. So I do my part, Allah does the rest. I can finally sleep. So you can release control, embrace trust. That's how peace is restored. So now he radiates. Same job, same family, same community, but he has a different architecture. From black hole to a piercing star. So he didn't need more information. He needed reconstruction. And you might too. So what if I told you you've already lived inside out many, many, many times? Would you believe me? Ramadan. For 30 days, you accidentally lived the architecture. So we're already deeply connected to source. We know that, okay, we've got to get up early, we've got to have Sahri, Fajr, intentions, Quran daily, Allah's first. We know that. Even because we're fasting, our self is stripped back. Right? We have no distractions. Remember who we are. We're here to serve. We build taqwa through fasting, and our desires are dimmed. Our systems are very structured, so we know that, okay, during the daylight hours we're not eating. At night we go to the mosque, etc., etc. Everything's protected. Boundaries are enforced. That service is flowing naturally. Okay, right. Everyone's much more generous in Ramadan. We give more. We give iftar. We give from fullness. Right, we're restoring ourselves, and we understand we're not in control. We just submit to the schedule. We don't say, "Oh no, you know what? I need to. I'm feeling hungry today. Let's do iftar 1 hour earlier." We can't. We have to submit to the schedule, right? So that's why we feel full. That's why Ramadan, we're full of energy and this and that. And then Ramadan ends, right? And then within weeks, the phone comes first again, routines collapse, emptiness returns. So we're a star for 30 days. And then we start going and showing black hole behavior again. We go back to collapsing. So here's the question. Where did your collapse begin? Which ring inverted first? Did you forget Allah? Did you lose yourself in a title? Did your routines start serving others? Did you start giving to fill a void? Or did you start controlling what isn't yours? Okay. So for most people, a source or self, right? For some people, it's systems, and a few people, it's surrender. Almost nobody collapses because their service is too weak, because we often serve plenty. Even I think, is it a hadith or that where the soul is designed to serve, and so if you're not serving Allah, it'll find something else to serve, right? So we naturally do serve, but we sometimes serve again the wrong architecture, the wrong fuel. So the rule is this, right? You can't fix the outer. You can't think, okay, I'm going to fix my service or I'm going to fix my surrender without fixing the inner ones first. Because if your core is hollow, no system will save you. You have to start from the center and then go outwards. So if your week is in source, start tomorrow morning. The first thing in the morning, go straight away, go to the bathroom, do wudu, and start with Allah. 5 minutes of stillness, dhikr, dua, just not ritual, not because oh yeah we've got to pray for you, we've got no relationship. Fusion reignites in desperation and honesty. If it's self, right, you can journal this week. Who am I? Burn that title. This is what you do if no one's watching. Ask Allah to reveal fitra, because it's not destroyed. It's actually just buried, and that's part of the work that we do. We excavate and dig to extract it from within. Just a quick side note. When I left my job, I remember I went away on holiday to Portugal, and for the first 2-3 days, I was just empty and blank. And then I went for a walk, and I just went past a waterfall, and I was just staring at the waterfall for so long. And one thing that came to my mind was the water knows where it's going, but I've got no idea. Why is that? But something just like hit me at that moment. And what happened was that I was there for hours and hours. I walked home, went home. It was dark, but I got home, and all of a sudden my mind started flowing. And I got a notebook, and I started filling pages. Like, who am I? What am I good at? What have I always been good at? What things have I achieved in my life? What don't I like, etc., etc. Right? And all of a sudden I started filling the notebook, and connections were starting to make. Oh, yeah, actually, I can do that, and hope was starting to build because I was starting to get to know myself for the first time in my life. So anyway, that's a side note. Systems. So audit your morning. Does it serve source? Protect 1 hour daily that no one can take. Your calendar, and also not just the source. Look at your other things. If you're constantly, sometimes we serve others. We're told to do things by it could be our jobs, it could be extended family, it could be friends, or it could be whatever. Like, do things in the right order. Redesign it to serve the core. If it's service, you need to learn to rest. I think I sometimes guilty of this, right? I just keep going. Don't be guilty, because you're going to be on the verge of burnout. If you can't, you're trying to radiate, and there's only a little bit left, so you have to refill before you re-give. Right? It's better to be sustainable than burn out heroically. Right? The West, they champion not nonsense. Right? They champion all of this stuff. Oh yeah, this is all a badge of honor. You burnt out, and you're working hard, and no, it's not about that at all. And if it's surrender, sometimes this one statement is extremely powerful. Ya Allah, I release this to you. And if you remember nothing from this except this, just remember this. Your job is to maintain the core, and his job is to determine the reach. A star can't control how far it shines. So pick one of these 5 things and start there. So what's the one practice you'll commit to starting tomorrow? I'll remind you of the ayah. By the sky and the night comer, and what will make you know what the night comer is? It is a piercing star. And I think I love this analogy, because you've seen with the whole Epstein thing, and the world it's like pitch black. It's almost pitch black now. And so a piercing star, it's not just a star or a dull star. A piercing star is one that's full of light and energy and power, and it can pierce through this darkness and the noise and the nonsense. This is what we need to be. I mean, to be radiating. Imagine the Muslims are radiating, and everyone is. Because the great thing about stars is that you see it, and it'll naturally give light to others, and so you can literally light up the sky with if there's enough of us doing this work. So obviously you're not broken, you're collapsed. And as we've shown, that collapsed stars can reignite. So my question for you now is that, do you want to know how? That's a good question. You can. I'll go into that. How do you excavate what's buried? I'll go into that inshallah. Okay. Thank you. Abdulaziz. So obviously, I mean, I mentioned at the start that the study that I did, 58% people have clarity, and only 17% are actually doing it. Right. So it's an implementation problem, not knowledge. Now you guys have the knowledge now, right? And obviously this was what it looks like. And obviously we might be inspired, and we're going into Ramadan now, and we might make a few changes. But we need systems. This is what the big takeaway of all my work is. That's why I've tried to build framework systems, because implementation and infrastructure is what's required, especially when the world system is so powerful. So you need to counter it with alternative systems. That's the point. So what's better? So today it might be diagnosis. Okay, this is what's happened to us, but how to rebuild is where we have to go on a journey. We have to transform. And so there's two paths to go through from here, right? So path one is, now that you've seen the model, you've seen the framework, the system, you can run with it, and you can reflect, and you can journal on it, and inshallah maybe share it with others. But path two might be, okay, look, I need someone to help walk me through this, step by step. How do I rebuild my life inside out? So this is what it looks like. I've got something called the Know Your Purpose program, right? There's 5 stages, there's 40 plus frameworks, and there's one core blueprint. So I'm going to answer your question now. This is how it works. This is how the system works. There's 5 core stages. First stage, know your purpose. This is all about understanding the meaning, that why Allah has created us. What does it mean to be Khalifa? How do you rebuild that source? This is what's essentially the source work. Stage 2 is, once you know that, you know how everything all works, then you go to stage 2, which is, I need to understand myself. I need to extract who I really am. And so we've got this framework called the Spark Lit framework, which is understanding who you are through 8 different lenses, right? Because you might do a personality test, or you might do a few things, and you understand yourself to an extent. But if you understand yourself through 8 different angles, you've got all of this powerful raw data that you will see with conviction. Oh my God, like this pattern keeps repeating itself. That's significant. And so this is what we do. We take all of this, and we start synthesizing, and we start connecting dots. And then when we have all that information, we go into stage 3, because now you can plot what does that look like for your service. It's not know your path. Then by the end of stage 3, you understand what your mission is on this earth, or why they designed you and what you're here for. You go to stage 4. So stage 4, there's 2 elements to it. One is the element of self, and one's the element of surrender. Because this is all about, okay, what problems will you encounter along the way? So some people encounter mindset problems, or shaitan, or desires, or this or that, trauma, etc. So we do that work. And some people have a control issue or anxiety issue, and we do that work as well. So the idea is that all the things that are blocking you, we unblock them and rewire your mind to think in the right way. And the final stage is all about, how do you take all this stuff and make it a reality in your day-to-day? How do you build the systems required to live like a star? This is how it all works. Even one of the mini frameworks in this section is called systems. S stands for spiritual. Y stands for you. The U systems are your value and principles. You have your S, self-care. T for time management. E for your environment. M for mastery. S for support. So these are all the different systems that we build and put into your lives, inshallah. So this is how it works, the 5s from confusion to clarity. And what I'm also offering, especially for the first time actually, is one-to-one sessions with myself as well. So it's not like a course, or it's got coaching. You're going to have mastermind coaching for 12 months every week. You've got worksheets and tools. You've got a GPT that's been trained on all the models to help connect the dots. You've got community, all this stuff's included. But you've also got my personal time and personal focus, where one-to-one, I'll sit with you for 2 different sessions. and just to give you that personalized approach and make sure that you're on the right lines to get everything rebuilt. But there's only 8 spots because obviously because I only have a certain amount of capacity myself, right? So so to make sure that everyone gets the time and stuff, I only are going to give 8 spots available, and then we will close for this month, and then we'll open again after Eid, inshallah. So yeah, so I want to give you an example of what it looks like when you rebuild. This is Sister Fawzia from California. So she said that the program has had a profound impact on me. I tell others openly that I'm now Fawzia 2.0. It's completely changed the way I look at things. So this was Fawzia in her 1.0, in a collapsed state. So she always asked the question, she was a software engineer. She's been a software engineer for 20 years. Was I created to write code my entire life? Herself, identity software engineer, nothing else. The system was built around the corporate ladder. Service. So she had tried different things. She had 6 different failed ventures, but they were all about, okay, I can prove it. I want to prove it to myself. I can be successful. I can do this. I can do that. And she was constantly trying to control the narrative, and she's exhausted as a result. And she tried everything. She tried Tony Robbins. She went Brendan Burchard. She got COC. She went on Mind Valley courses, but she still felt lost. So then we focused on the source. Her source was quite strong. She fasted, she prayed, but she still felt lost, right? So she had the fuel, but that's why she tried all these different ventures. So who is she in relation to source? What the question isn't what should I do with my life? What did Allah design my life to do? So she stopped asking about her career or what she needs to do. Started asking about the creator. What's his design for you? What's your fitrah? Right? So then this is what she remembered now who she was after we did the exercise in phase 2 and stuff. I'm not an engineer who dabbles in education. I'm actually an educator. I'm trapped in engineering. So she realized, oh my God, that engineering thing is not really her. So her identity moved from a job title to her divine design. So we found her thing. We restructured her systems. So she was still working her software engineering job that was paying her bills, etc. But she launched her first program. So she didn't try and quit first or anything. She built purpose-aligned systems alongside her job. Her service was redirected, right? The successful ventures that she now then set up focus on other people's transformation. So in the last 18 months, she became a TEDx speaker, a certified high performance coach, a parenting coach, and she's launched an education company for Muslims, Muslim children. Sorry, she owns a DexaFit health practice now her coaching focuses on excellence through identity, right? And she's actually a host of international retreats as well. So again, she's inside out. It's just radiating from her, mashallah. And her surrender is now released as well. Because what happened last year, interestingly, after 20 years at a company, she was actually made redundant because of AI and stuff. But she actually felt relief. She said that this is crazy, because if this happened even a year before, I would have been panicking, and I'm a bit older. Who would hire me now, etc. But she trusted the plan, and she's ready to fly regardless. So this is now Fawzia 2.0. You're speaking at TED, and she said this is what she said. This program tops any coaching we ever experienced, Muslim or non-Muslim. So 18 months of rebuilding our architecture has kind of led her here. So Ramadan obviously starts next week, and obviously every other year we enter a opening, and we're transformed temporarily, right? So, but this year now you know the difference, right? What the right architecture is. But if we can build it in the right way, we can now accelerate and we can retain that structure throughout Eid, inshallah. So obviously the month is coming. The question is, how are you going to enter it? So this is the price of the program. So £2,000. My coaching sessions are usually about £500 a session. So obviously, because they're going to be thrown in as well. You can the price of the program is £2,000, or if you want to pay installments, you could do installments of 1,000 for over 2 months, inshallah. So that's how it works. So I should have shared with you the link, and there's 2 options. You can go for there's a link directly to buy either installments or the full price one, or if you want to have a quick chat with myself or a DM or anything, you can do that as well on that page that you shared. But remember, there's only 8 slots, and obviously we had quite a lot of people registered for this. So obviously we're going to be sending out the emails, etc. So as soon as 8 have gone, we'll obviously take the offer down, or the first of Ramadan. So you have between now and the first of Ramadan, inshallah, to take it. So I'm going to end, inshallah, with reminding you that don't be like those who forgot Allah, who made them forget themselves. So we need to remember Allah, remember yourself, reignite your core, and pierce the darkness, inshallah. This is the structure, built from the inside out, and become the piercing star that Allah swore by. Would you rebuild or repeat this Ramadan? The price, so just a reminder of that, everything that you'll get within the program. And this is just a reminder of the master framework and what it proves. Start with source, know yourself, build systems, serve from overflow, and surrender the outcome, inshallah. So that is the end of the session. So I am happy to take a few questions, inshallah. So any thoughts, any feedback, any questions about the program? You have me here. Okay, I have that. Really appreciate that. What did you find helpful? How could you? Oh, you can. What your problems were? Okay, very good. Okay, awesome. So what do you know what your next step is? Very good. How do I excavate what's buried? Okay, so this is a very good question. There's the way we do it, obviously, in the program is we look at it from different angles. One angle is we look at what you're spiritually inclined towards. So I've written an article called "The Divine Clusters." If you want to check my Substack, there's that you can read that. That explains the spiritual kind of thing. One is your personality type. So everyone, there's different personality types out there. That gives you a little bit of a flavor of who you are. One is your natural abilities. So what are you naturally good at? Then we have passion, right? What are you passionate about? One is actually looking at your life story, because there's always significant moments in your life when you trace it back. You think, oh God, actually, that's why that happened. That's what. Don't look at your life as random. Nothing in our life is random. Nothing in our life is random. So when you realize it's all connected and it's all designed towards you eventually figuring out your purpose, then it all starts making sense. And exactly, I really appreciate the kind words. I mean. Exactly, Mohammed. I really appreciate that. Yeah, the second one. Yeah, I mean, we don't write that one that often, but again, we've got a lot of. I mean, if you're in the school community, we've got an entire 20 videos on golden age, how to revive the second golden age. We've got a course on it. We've got loads of things on it. So yeah, thanks so much, Dr. Nemo. Really appreciate that. Yeah, please do share it with others as well, because I think this is one thing I'm trying to do a bit more of this year. I'm trying to, instead of hiding behind a screen and writing away, I'm trying to become a bit more available, a bit more accessible, a bit more out there, because this work is needed. And you can see, like I said, everyone agrees that we are living in a very empty world. So the only way we're going to refill is through the source, So a couple of questions here, actually. Yeah. Okay, Abdulaziz. Okay, how do I look through other lens that? Yes, you're really important. I totally agree regarding children, because I think that you have to understand that who we are today is a culmination of systems over decades, right? And so there's a level of unlearning first. If we teach our kids from what we currently know, well, obviously it's this stuff compounds. So if we've been brought up with broken blueprints and our parents we're going to just pass that on. So we have to. It has to be how trauma stops somewhere, right? We've got to break the cycle. It's the same here. We've got to break the cycle in terms of being able to think the right way, the non-corrupted way. And so that's the first point. The second point is that I remember we had a brother on the program who was homeschooling his kids, and he said that, look, the reason I'm doing the program is I want material to take them through. So he went through the program, and then he was teaching and simplifying it for his kids. So that's a really, really good way of doing it as well. Because, like I said, for your children, 8 and 4, I've got 4-year-old and I've got 8-year-old as well, and already I'm looking for signs of the fitra. I can already see that I've got 3 children: 8-year-old, 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old, and all of them are so different. And that's our jobs, is to understand, okay, because if we just leave them to it, they're going to go the normal way. Okay, let's go to school. Oh, the teacher decides. Oh, the careers advisor is going to say, oh, maybe you should do this, maybe you should do that. No. We How the scholars used to do it was they would know the family, they would know the child over years and years, and they'd be looking for this stuff, and they would be able to guide in the right direction, etc., etc. So I think this is what your role definitely should be, and understanding this stuff for yourself, like you being the example that they're going to follow. So the hopefully that answers the question, inshallah. How do you know what Allah wants from us specifically? So again, the very, very good question. I think, look, the way the easiest way to explain it is that, look, we have an overall macro purpose, which is I've created my engine to worship me. Um, so yeah, so what does worship look like? So we know that worship is not just on the prayer mat, right? So worship is that vertical connection. But then we also have a service aspect to that as well. So the horizontal aspect for creation. Now, so what is your particular service or worshipful service, you could say, for Allah, because our job as Khalifa is to put Allah's order on earth using the gifts and skills that He's given us. Right, He's given them for a reason, because they're useful for our divine duty. That's the point. I mean, like I said, I've written a lot on this stuff in the past, but that's our job to figure out. To work from fitra, to understand that, and then to work in accordance and align with that. Really appreciate that. It's interesting. My wife actually said this. She said, "Oh, honestly, so you're actually a really, really good teacher." And I thought, no. I never really thought that was my thing at all. But I think what it is that a lot of this stuff is that because I enjoy writing. Writing is about being curious and being observant about and seeing patterns in things. And I think that when you then write something, it clarifies it in your head. So a lot of it is clarifying your thinking. And then, so because you've clarified your thinking, because on writing you have to explain it in a way that other people understand, right? And you don't have the benefit of speaking; you only have to say it through words. So I think that helps with being able to simplify. Yeah, and exactly, yeah. That's why the community exists, by the way. Like, you don't have to ever be alone with thoughts on purpose and stuff, right? I can talk your ear off about it, I'm sure. I'm sure with others. That's the whole point of like-minded people. Um, that we're on the same journey ultimately, and ultimately that this is a journey back to Him, and we're gonna stumble. And I think I mentioned this to you before. That, look, the book that I've written, the narrative of it is on a mountain, and like when we're climbing a mountain, sometimes we're gonna fall. We're gonna need a guide along the way. Sometimes friends are gonna help us get up the. This is the point. That it's a journey, and that's what we have to do together. Okay, perfect. Okay. Um, yeah, the star analogy. Um, to be honest, it got me thinking that is again more deeper than I realized, because um, everything when I think about this Khali Khalifa thing or star and black hole thing, I can actually look at society, and I can look at, it's not just our purpose has been inverted. I can look at our education system being inverted. I can look at our justice system being inverted. I could look at basically pretty much every system has been inverted, and so we actually have completely Hali systems, and so our job is to rebuild Khalifa systems. You get it? And that's what the golden age was. Yeah, absolutely. That's the point. That everything but that's the thing. We have also the Quran. The Quran is what brings everything to life. But what's happened is that sadly we maybe don't think enough, or we have become complacent or whatever. So I think this is the point that we have to really ponder, really reflect, and I think this thing that it's by intention, isn't it? That don't be don't settle. It's about our standards. Like, we shouldn't be happy that look, the Ummah's in dire straits. But what's happening is that we become selfish. We think, oh no, but I need to get my car and I need to get my house, and it's me, me, me. Actually, no, that's the point. That individualism is what's come from the West, and that's the secular kind of way. But Islam was always about the collective, and so if we have that concern, that care, naturally we would think, okay, no, we need to. A star is also about giving to others, a radius. It doesn't radiate light for itself. It's like the animal example of a star is a bee. I always use a bee example, right? Because they also, they go around the world, they do all these different things to make a little bit of honey, that has healing in it. They don't benefit from it themselves; it's for others. So yeah, that's the point. Any other questions, even about the program or how it works? If not, we can close it there. What time is it? Yeah, so we're bang on 90 minutes. So okay, inshallah, we will leave it there. Inshallah, the Ramadan Kareem to you all, and please remember me in your duas, and shine on like the stars that you are. Inshallah. Okay, take care, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Bye.